What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So you get what we had here last week, which is the way he wants. Well, he gets. I don't like it any more than you do.
And welcome back for another episode of Smoking Truth TV. I am your host Nada, and the title for today's show is Unlocked and Unloaded, A Different Perspective. I know it's a bit of a silly title, but at least it gets my videos around the algorithms. I probably should have called it The Lone Gunman Shoots from the Hip, but I thought that might have been too encryptive, but hey, what do I know? For today's show, I wanted to talk about a few things that have been on my mind lately. One of them being the realm in which we dwell, and two, looking at some scripture that backs up some of these claims. Objectively, this could be called looking at scripture in a completely new way. Well, for some of you this may be the case, but in all honesty, some of you may have heard of some of what I'm going to say before, and if so, I hope you enjoy the ride. I'm also going to attempt to bring you up to speed on where I am in my journey, as well as give you my viewpoints on why I think we live in some kind of holographic realm. If you are well versed in these subjects, then please feel free to leave your comments below. As I've said before, this is an ever learning channel, and if I'm not mistaken, we're all looking for the truth, right? Before I start, I just wanted to state that this video may upset or trigger some viewers. Of course, this is not my intentions, and if I'm honest with myself, I think it wise to look at all aspects for the truth. I would also like to add that this channel is not afraid to look at alternative information, and that also goes for alternative history, as some of us have come to understand that most of what we're told, taught and given throughout our lives are mainly all based upon a lie, and in many cases that lie also holds some kind of truth. Yeah, gets confusing, doesn't it? Another reason for me making this video is to ask some of you, what are your thoughts on some of these topics? Have you ever thought about these subjects before? Are you being shown the same as I am? I mean, as the saying goes, bring your information to 2 or more people for clarification. But what if you have nobody in your life to help you work these kinds of things out? Well, that's a good enough reason to make a video, wouldn't you agree? Anyway, enough with the suspense build up, let's dive in. There is a word that has been bugging me lately, and that word is be-lie-eve, or commonly known as believe. But I don't want to believe, I want to know. So isn't it better to be yourself than just to go along with the rest of society? I'm sorry, I'm not going to hold any punches today as we have a lot to get through, so I'm just going to jump straight in with some scripture first so we can get this train rolling. If we were to look at chapter 1 of the Bereshit, or Genesis, we get the phrase, and Elohim said. In my opinion, this covers the basis of the first creation story, but what was brought to my attention was the wording that was chosen to be used, as in Elohim. After doing some research, I've come to the understanding that the word Elohim is a plural word, and its meaning is more than one. If this wasn't more than one, the wording would have been Eloha. It isn't until we get to chapter 2 in the Bereshit, or Genesis, the scriptures take a change and start using the word Yah or Yahuwah, or however you want to spell it. And this is where we get the continuation of the creation story. Is it fair to assume that the Elohim in chapter 1 of the Bereshit are the ones that created the existence of our world as well as some form of humanity? When we get to the verse, "Let us make man in our image," I've heard some say that this was Yah talking to himself, or Yah was talking to Yeshua, or this was the first time Yah was talking to his holy council. It seems that people just can't get their heads around this subject and tend not to be able to agree on the very first chapter of the book. This is something even I am still pondering over, especially with what I have to say today. But of course, Elohim could be more than what we're told, because when breaking down this word into 3 words we get El, O, Him. But putting that aside for now, the first chapter of the Bereshit is where we learn about the creation of the earth, or Eretz, as in at rest. So straight off the bat in Genesis 1:1 it's telling us that the earth is fixed and stationary. But not only that, we also see this in verse 2. And the spirit or spirits of the Elohim was moving on the face of the waters. Now to my understanding, a face only has one side. Well, unless you're that weird looking god they call Janus. But what's also strange about this verse is the words spirit and waters. Because again, going off of my understanding, large bodies of water always seeks its level, and a tool for measuring a flat surf face would be called a spirit level. I find it strange that the words we use in our everyday life all points to the phrase level, horizontal or plane. For an example, when we take a trip to another country, we fly on an aeroplane, not an air curve. When we look out to sea, we say things like sea level, not sea curve. The word horizon means horizontal. I mean, even the world's ley lines, that we will get into in a minute, indicates a straight line as you would lay something down in a straight line. The word plateau, plato, or just simply plate all indicates flat and level. Well, unless you're talking about a china plate, but they also have a flat base with the exception of having an upturned edge. Interesting, hey? That last statement reminds me of this guy, Auguste Piccard. You know, the first man to ever go up in a hot air balloon that reached a height of 10.4 miles back in 1931. When he was asked, what does the Earth look like from that height, he replied with, it seemed a flat disc with an upturned edge. Anyway, I'm beginning to digress here, but before we get back to the book of the Bereshit, let me just show you a couple of quotes from Nikola Tesla. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in the terms of energy, frequency and vibration. If you only knew the magnificence of the numbers 3, 6 and 9, then you would have a key to the universe. With these statements in mind, if we now go to the verses 3, 6 and 9 of chapter 1 of the Bereshit, they all start with, and Elohim said. Here, let me show you what I mean. And Elohim said, let light come to be, and light came to be. And Elohim said, let an expanse come to be in the midst of the waters, and let it separate the waters from the waters. And Elohim said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together into one place, and let the dry land appear. And it came to be so. This indicates to me that all that was created through energy, frequency and vibration, a wave of electrical currents forming manifestation. This also includes the sun, moon and stars. The sun and moon appear to me to be a form of some kind of plasma, and are both of equal size, that emit their own light down upon the at rest, as they complete their circuit. The sun gives us heat and the moon gives us cold light, like a positive and negative. Again, back to the same principle as in energy and light created through sound and vibration. When it comes down to the stars, they seem to give off some kind of pulsating frequency. And just like with the sun and the moon and everything else, they too were created by sound and frequency. I mean, some of you must have looked into that experiment regarding a star in a jar. As this picture shows, if you collapse an underwater bubble with a sound wave, light is produced, and nobody knows why. I guess one thing we can all agree on is that the sun is where we get our heat from, so I probably don't need to go into that, but in case some of you don't understand when I say the moon emits cold light, you can always test this for yourselves. All you would need is a thermometer, and you will see that it is colder in the moonlight compared to the moon shade. But let's get back to the ley lines before I explain on how I think the sun and moon works. If we were to take this unbelievable artist rendition of the supposed mud ball in a vacuum, you will notice that all the ley lines reaches a point to where we get spiral patterns. And to be honest, even though this works and matches up with GPS, it looks a complete Big Bang tattered mess. That's because it doesn't really look like this, and is more likely to look something like this. And as you can see, all the ley lines are laid down and they come to a point to where the true north is, or centre if you will, and the lines now seem to look like spokes in a bicycle wheel. And we also see the ley lines that go round the spokes, like so. Kinda reminds me of the verse, "A wheel inside a wheel." And I will just throw this in here as well. I find it amusing that we're told the first invention made by man was a wheel. Wonder how they got to that idea. Could it have been that early man already knew what the shape of the earth was? Anyway, these placed lines, or laid lines, are said to be magnetic, hence the word magnetic ley lines. And if you have watched a few of my videos before, you would have heard me talking about magnetic quantum locking, when I speculated that it may be the dome that is rotating in a quantum lock state. Well, I have come to understand that the sun and the moon works in a very similar way. They seem to be in a levitated wave state, quantum locked over the ley lines as they move east to west while whirling up and down as if they're in some kind of wave, as we go through the 4 seasons. This also gives us some explanation on how they aid the waves of the sea to move, with the help of the magnetic pulsating north. We can see the same spiral patterns of ley lines in nature too. For an example, if you were to cut a tree in half, you will see this pattern. You will also notice this when looking at a flower, or even when taking a time lapse of star trails. But not only that, we also see the same patterns when looking at a compass. And when placing a compass on a map like this, you will notice that we navigate east to west and the south is the outer edge, with the north being the centre. You will also notice that a compass always seems to be pointing towards the black magnetic North Rock, known as either Mount Meru or Rupert Nigra, the centre of the Earth. This is also where the North Star Polaris can be found, in its fixed rotating position. Any wonder as to why people place a star on top of a Christmas tree? But as I've already covered that in a video before, let's keep moving. It seems that everything in our reality is based upon a wave of some kind, and we can witness these waves if you were to direct them at water, as we can see here. If we was to recap the words we use in everyday life, we would also notice they all divert back to energy, sound, frequency and vibration. For an example, energy waves, electrical waves, radio waves, frequency waves, sound waves, sea current, electric current, and so on and so on. It also seems that everything in our realm has its own individual frequency of some kind, to make up what it is to be manifest in the physical. As I've said before, everything has its own code. It also seems that there are good frequencies and bad frequencies, as in positive and negative, or a good way of putting it would be negative energy and positive energy. I mean, some of you already know about the miracle tones and the benefits of using them. For an example, 432 Hz, 528 Hz, 396 Hz, 639 Hz, and 963 Hz. But again, I would encourage you to research these out for yourselves. As for the bad energy, here is a clue as to how they use negative frequencies against us. Alpha waves in the human brain are between 6 and 8 Hz. The wave frequency of the human cavity resonates between 6 and 8 Hz. All biological systems operate in the same frequency range. The human brain's alpha waves function in this range, and the electrical resonance of the Earth is between 6 and 8 Hz. Thus, our entire biological system, the brain, and Earth itself works on the same frequencies. If we can control that resonance system electronically, we can directly control the entire mental state of humankind. And that's exactly what they did. And when I say they, I mean them, the ruling class, the elite. You know how the saying goes, it's a big club and you ain't in it. Anyway, these towers and TV stations all work in this kind of way, all polluting your mind without you even noticing, as this picture here explains. I will just run through these points with you. A steady tone near the high end of the hearing range, say 15,000 Hz, output is now more or less a steady tone, sounding like tinnitus, but with hypnosis embedded. A hypnotist's voice, varying between 300 Hz and 4000 Hz, the brain can hear and understand, but the ear only hears a tone or a rush. Output may be via the air, via the radio or TV. That also goes for mobile phones, computers and laptops. This is how hypnosis can be transmitted using Voice FM, and the target is not aware. But what people are not telling you is, you are not your brain. Your brain only works as a receiver for your divine self to process that information. And if you're in an enslaved state, you will not pick up the good frequency, or the frequency of the Creator. Oh no, now I've done it. I have just referred to the Creator as a frequency. This is probably where I'm going to lose some people. Look, I know a lot of Christians and Bible believers may be upset with what I'm about to say, but I just want to make myself clear. This is not an attack against you or your faith, and we have to remember we are all trying to walk that narrow path. But to ignore what I'm about to say, you would also have to ignore everything I have said so far, and to me, that would be crazy. Now, I'm not saying I'm right, this is just something I have been pondering over. Within my research over the years, I have been transfixed on knowing, or trying to find out, the name of the Creator, and that goes for the Messiah's name too. The conclusion I came to is, they are most likely Yahuwah and Yeshua. Most people, including myself, have come to the understanding that the name Yeshua translates to is salvation, but splitting his name into 3 words, as in the way they sound, could be interpreted as yes, you are, as in you are your own salvation. And the word Yahuwah, split into 3 words, sounds like yeah, you are. Remember, everything is encoded with its own sound and frequency. If we were to say we are one with the Creator, wouldn't these names be a plausible answer? And if so, this also breaks the scriptures wide open for new possibilities and new findings. Look, I understand the saying, there is no new thing under the sun. But if we were all taught wrongly and we all walked in worldly things, only to find out we have been lied to, then start to unveil the truth of them lies, then isn't every day a new day for us to learn something new? I had a whole presentation set up for this video that backs up with what I'm talking about, but as we're around the 20-minute mark, I think I will save it for another video. So instead, let's get back to what this place is. Well, from my understanding, and this is just my opinion, I think this place is some kind of testing ground, and we are an infinite energy of light, and our bodies are just the avatar, or vessel, as some has come to call it. And depending on what we do and learn, also depends on your future life. Here, let me show you what I mean. I think the Vedic cosmology is the closest to what we can describe as our holographic prism. So as I was saying, the Earth seems to be some kind of testing ground, and depending on what we learn while we spend time here, also depends on our next reality. If you have been here all your life and learnt nothing, you could end up returning to this same reality, life after life, stuck in the same pattern of recycling. Or if you have been bad all your life, your reality could end up being worse than what it is now. But if you're a good, kind-hearted person and wanted to better your situation and start learning and elevating yourself, you are more likely to be reborn into a higher realm where things are slightly better. This pattern happens each time you pass through a realm, and depending on who and what you are also determines your realm of reality. With everything we have looked at today, my best guess to what this singular realm looks like would be something like this. Yup, it seems we live inside some kind of cosmic clock, and the sun and the moon works the same as the hands on a 24-hour clock, and it's our job to seek out wisdom and knowledge to be able to unlock truth, to be able to ascend from this cosmic prism lock. I think I will leave it there for today, as this was quite a lot to unpack in such a short video. But if you did like the information I presented today, you may want to check out a few YouTube channels that are all talking about these kinds of subjects, like Jason Brashears from Archaics or Bro Sanchez TV. Martin Leakey from Flat Earth British has some great knowledge on this subject too, and I'm sure if you go looking you will find many more talking about these particular subjects. But of course, just like I always say, don't just listen to me or any man who claims to tell you the truth, because at the end of the day it is your job to do the legwork and it's your job to try and figure out what is true. One last thing before I get out of here. What did you think yes you are and yeah you are mean? Could the meanings come from when we're told we will become like the angels? Or could they mean when we're told ye are gods? I will let you ponder over them ideas for yourselves. As for me, I will continue digging deeper until I find out what it is I'm looking for. Not that I know what it is, but that's what makes it so exciting, wouldn't you agree? Anyway, it's way too late in the video for me to go on another tangent, so time for me to make my exit. If you did enjoy this video, then please hit the thumbs up button and please don't forget to subscribe for future content. I have no clue on how much longer this channel will continue, but I assure you, if I get shut down or I get locked out, I will return with a new channel and start this all over again. I guess you could say, once you have a passion for something, then you become unstoppable. As always, take care out there, brothers and sisters, and I will speak to you all again soon for some more Smoking Truth TV.
What we've got here is failure to communicate. Some men you just can't reach. So you get what we had here last week, which is the way he wants it. Well, he gets it. I don't like it any more than you, me.